What do you think when you think of God? What sort of God do you think of? Is he a Sunday God? Limited in effectiveness or interest? He's interesting on a Sunday, but, well, the rest of the week we can get on without him. Or is he like the gods that the pagans believed in back in all the different mythologies? Gods whose power stopped at a river, or at a mountain, or at the coastline. They were gods of the land or gods of the sea. Or they were a god of this people group, so their power stopped at a border. And we mock those people for their limited view of their gods and their primitive ideas. But, we could have the same, a God of Sundays or a God of big things. But one writer said, a man called A.W. Tozer said, what we think of when we think of God is the most important thing about us. What you think of when you think of God is the most important thing about you. Psalm 24 invites us to meet God. That's really what this psalm is about. Dale Ralph Davis says, the primary burden of this psalm is to tell Israel and us to be ready to meet the King. So we saw this morning the people of Malachi's day, where we want God to come and judge. And, oh no, you don't. You're not ready to meet the judge. Well, the whole purpose of Psalm 24 is to make us ready to meet the King. We meet the King. Here he is. What a king he is. Have you met him? I'm going to look at verses 1 and 2. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it in the seas and established it in the waters. I asked a man from Port Stewart, what's the motto of the town of Port Stewart? And I kind of kept asking him about it. Do you not know it? Do you not know it? How do you not know the motto of the town of Port Stewart? Quite simply, it doesn't have one. That's why. What's Donegal's motto? I had to look it up. Mutuum habitus caritatem. There you go. Great. Have love for one another. That's not too shabby, is it? Not too shabby at all. Well, verses 1 and 2 would make a great motto for the whole world. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. It should be written over the globe. Or do you know those frames you get on a nice vista and nice viewpoint, and you can go and you can stand with your family in behind them, and somebody takes a photograph of whatever's out behind, and you're there in it. Well, over the top of this frame, no matter what way you would look through it, maybe it's on a turntable that you could turn around to look anywhere in the world, it would say, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. They should put one of those at the top of Errigal. No matter what way you turn, there's the frame, framing the scene. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. It's a claim of creation and ownership and sovereignty and authority. And I want us to think about it this evening under from four angles. First of all, the artist's signature. The artist's signature. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all who live in it. It's like the artist's signature on a painting. You walk into a gallery and you ask, who painted this? And you're told it's this artist. Then, who painted this? And you look and you see the name on the bottom. It's the same name. And then who painted this? And there's the name at the bottom. It's the same name. It's the same artist. And you marvel at the skill of the artist as you look around the paintings. You see his signature. You think, wow, I can do so many different things. I've said to you before about reading a biography of Leonardo da Vinci. Astonishing man. And his signature as it were, could be found on paintings. It could be found on inventions. It could be found on studies of anatomy and dentistry, human anatomy, animal anatomy, studies of optics and lenses and dentistry. He was an absolute genius. Designs for machines, poetry, music. An incredible man. His signature, as it were, was on so many different things. And they're so amazing, the things that he painted, the things that he discovered, the music, the instruments that he invented, all the rest are just amazing. But he pales into comparison to this artist. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. This verse reminds us of that, and it's good for you to know. When you go out and you look around, train yourself to see the artist's signature. Stop and ponder his skill as you see the master artist at work. Come with me for a moment, just to ponder some things. Let's take water and wool. There's two ordinary things, water and wool. Water, there it is. Amazing stuff. Despite its simple atomic structure, water has some amazing properties that are essential for life on earth. For it to be useful, it has to be a liquid at room temperature. I wouldn't fancy trying to drink a gas or swallow a lump of ice. However, all other substances that are chemically similar are not liquid at room temperature. And the fact that water is liquid at room temperature, which it needs to be so helpful to us. Imagine ice came out of your taps. Not great. Or gas. But a liquid comes out at room temperature. But the fact that it's a liquid at room temperature is a mystery to scientists. Like air, it's odorless. And that makes it possible for us to use in washing and in cooking. My aunt, her water is not odorless. It's got this awful sulfur smell to it. That doesn't do your clothes much good. Doesn't do you much good when you're walking around smelling of that all the time. But normally speaking, it's odorless. Water is the only known substance that becomes lighter as it freezes. That's great. Imagine if it was the other way around, like most other substances that would freeze from the bottom up, and then our lakes and our rivers would freeze, and the animals would get pushed and pushed and pushed towards the surface. But because it freezes the other way around, freezes from the top down, it forms a blanket. And that insulates and keeps the water below at a warmer temperature that allows the fish and marine life to be preserved. Incredible stuff, water. And that's another, the fact that water expands as it freezes is another mystery to scientists. There's the artist's signature on something that you're going to see every day and we take for granted. Wool. Well, I had to pick wool because we've got so many sheep farmers here. Do you ever ponder wool? Do you? Maybe you're fed up with this stuff. Isn't it just great that it grows in sheep, not lions? Imagine trying to shear a lion. I remember listening to a science podcast about a dog's sense of smell and how incredible it was and how wonderfully useful it was. And I thought to myself, well, isn't it great that it's in a dog and not in a rhinoceros? Imagine trying to have sniffer rhinoceroses at the airport. But it's comical, but actually, why is it that some of the most useful things are on the most docile of animals? Well, that's lucky. Or is it the work of an artist? Sheep, their hair grows rapidly at the rate of 2 to 3 inches per year, can be shorn annually and give an abundant supply. And it's relatively easy to shear a sheep compared to many other animals, that it would have been far harder. I don't speak from personal experience. And wool yarn is, again, easy to handle. And it has got incredible properties that make it ideal for clothing. It's a good insulator, used to keep things warm or to keep things cold. It's incredibly lightweight. It's porous and permeable. It can absorb perspiration and release it slowly through evaporation. So it's warm in winter and cool in summer. It gives off heat when it gets wet. A single gram of wool gives off 27 calories of heat when it goes from dry to wet. Shepherds have found that a great benefit out in the hills and in the fields. As their woolen jumper gets wet, it heats them up. It can also absorb 30% of its own weight in water before it feels wet to touch. Man-made fibers manage a paltry 5%. The next time you're touching something wool, I marvel at the artist's signature, and we could go on and on and on around everything from knee joints, which are incredibly designed and engineers haven't been able. I know we've had some replaced here, and I'm sorry, your replacements are not a patch on the original. A man with all his intelligence isn't able to come up with something as brilliant as the knee joint, the human knee joint. 16 necessary characteristics without which you can't have a knee. It's unique in all the body. It's ligaments that allow that allow movement in different directions, and curved surfaces of the bones, and the crossing ligaments allow complex movements and rolling movements that the knee produces. It's got its own lubricating liquid, and so on and so on. One engineer says, the knee joint is so sophisticated that human designers have been unable to produce an artificial knee that is anything approaching the performance of a real knee. We're meant to have evolved from monkeys and apes, but our knees are different from theirs. The human knee does something that monkey knees don't do. It locks. That's why a characteristic sort of ape movement is that. And the muscles are always in use. How tiring that would be. But the human knee locks and allows you to stand upright, which the monkey knee doesn't. Their muscles are continuously loaded and under tension. So here's the artist's signature. We could go on and on and on, and on and on and on and on and on and on. Of course, not everything is beautiful. There's cancer and weeds and wasps and ugliness. But the Bible has an explanation for both the beauty and the brutality of life, to the design and to the damage. It tells us that the fall has ruined some aspects of the artistry. Genesis 3. We find that things start to go awry back then. But it's worth noting that Scripture can account for both the beauty and the brokenness. An accidental universe can't really account for both. It may explain why things break down and why things don't work, but it struggles and is incapable of explaining how there is such beauty and order, astonishing order and design in so many components of the universe. And here it is, our verse: the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. There's an invitation to ponder. Second thing that we have, we've got the artist's signature. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. We've got the owner's stamp. The owner's stamp. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. A few years ago, an insurance company wanted us to write our name in invisible ink on our boiler in case it would be stolen for scrap. They wanted the owner's stamp on it. And if you've watched enough TV cop shows, you know that guns have serial numbers. And according to every film and cop show, that means that what you see the criminal doing is seeking to remove that serial number, the owner's or the maker's stamp that's on it. Well, what's been going on in our world? This verse helps us understand what's been happening in our world. All the things that have been happening over the last number of decades, and in fact for centuries before that. It's an attempt to take down the signage of verses 1 and 2. An attempt to remove the maker's serial number so that we're not reminded who we belong to, the owner's stamp. Some people are into their conspiracy theories, but I often find that they haven't gone big enough. There is a great conspiracy, far bigger and vaster than most people imagine. It's not the elites, it's not the corporations, it's not giant lizards on a planet far away, but it spans the conscious and the subconscious. It's both deliberate and unintentional. And it's been going on since Genesis 3. It's that attempt to file off the owner's stamp from anywhere we see it. You want to get a handle on what's happening in the world? We could get really down about the redefinitions of marriage, the attack on the unborn in the womb, the teaching of evolution in the schools, all of the transgender redefining who I am and what is my identity. We could get really down at all these things that seem to come from every angle against God's ways. But what if they're really just different versions of the same thing? Filing off of the owner's stamp. In Romans 1, we read about those who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. So it's clear from what has been made that there is a God, and yet people try to suppress this truth, or to put it in the language of the way I'm using it, we're trying to file off the owner's mark or stamp. Over the centuries, there have been all sorts of different attempts at this. The world out there is keen to get rid of the idea or the claim to ownership. Sometimes it's very deliberate, and sometimes it's more of a subconscious bias where people will latch onto, I like this idea, and they haven't thought it through. They don't know why. They're not, as it were, deliberately trying to file off the owner's imprint. But there's something in them resonates with that, and they reach for it. This helps us understand what's going on, and we could get really discouraged about the state of the world. So much seems to have changed on so many different fronts, but it's really all just the same front. It's the same thing. Let's file off the owner's mark. God speaks to us in his world. Let's file off the owner's mark. Let's come up with a theory about how we get this magnificent work of art without an artist. Let's file off the owner's mark. Let's come up with a theory of evolution. All of this is an accident, but yet design is so prevalent. It's so prevalent, in fact, that engineers take what is meant to be accidental and they say, what would be really good, that if we could design planes to fly as well as the Peregrine Falcon does. It seems to be incredibly well designed. I think, hold on a minute, if it's meant to be accidental, what on earth are we doing basing our designs on something that's meant to be an accident? It doesn't seem to stack up. But the theory of evolution is one way of filing off the owner's mark. God speaks to us in his world. God speaks to us in his word and tells us about the value of life. Every infant is a miracle. Every newborn baby in the womb, or if every baby in the womb and then newborn baby, is a miracle. A mark of God's design, a mark of great worth. And yet, what do? Well, what's abortion? Well, it's saying they're not of any worth. They're not of any worth at all. It's a filing off of the owner's valuation on that infant made in the image of God. It's to silence the voice of God on those matters. The same at the other end of the age spectrum. It's the same whenever we come to the redefining of marriage. The owner has set down the design, and we take and we file off the owner's stamp on marriage because we don't want to be reminded that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. God has spoken to us in our physicality that there is male and there is female. And life is full of those sorts of distinctions that God has made. And what do we try to do? We try to file it off and pretend that there's no distinction between male and female, between marriage and non-marriage, even between animal and human. Mankind is engaged in a desperate war to remove any nagging piece of evidence that they might belong, that this verse might be true. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who dwell in it. I think it's helpful for us to see the same root cause in all things. But it's a bit like pushing down a stolen beach ball. At the beach, you've nicked somebody's beach ball and you're out at sea. You're holding it down. You're going, no, I didn't steal it. I don't know where it is. Whoosh, up it pops. There it pops up over there. Or there it pops over there. And God's ownership has a way of popping up, no matter how much people try to suppress it. For the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And it's fascinating to find writers and thinkers now coming back and going, you know what, we try to get rid of those ideas, but actually those ideas are really important for the flourishing of human society. Marriage, important for the flourishing and stability of human society and the welfare of children. Views that we thought we didn't need, that we're finding that the West had, that came from Christianity. Writers like Tom Holland and others discovering that actually those values are Christian and we need to hang on to them. So how do we live in this world? Well, let's live in a world that doesn't want to believe that God is here, that He's irrelevant. Let's just keep going to church. Let's keep following God's instructions, so that even if they try to rewrite the instructions, as they look at us, they see there's people that live like there is an owner, that recognize that there's an artist, who are telling me that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it by everything that they do, by how they live and speak. Thirdly, first of all, the artist's signature. Second of all, the owner's stamp. Third, the king's pledge. The king's pledge. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For He founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. Verse 2 is about the sovereignty of God and His control. The waters were chaotic and powerful, and yet God says, I've established the earth and the waters. I'm Lord over the chaos. I've set my plan in place, and nothing, not even the most chaotic forces of the seas, think of all those great surging storms, none of that can thwart my plans. He's a big God. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Everything, every event, every person, every politician. Do you need reminded of that? Amidst the chaos of the world, our God isn't limited. That means we can live with a confidence. Confident in the way things unfold in life. There's a line in Psalm 112 about the godly man or the godly woman. At evil tidings, he is not afraid. Why not? Because he lives in a world where he knows everything is under control of his heavenly Father, and nothing can come to him except by his Father's express permission. At evil tidings, he's not afraid. You can have confidence. You can have confidence in all sorts of ways. You can have confidence in evangelism. This truth is written all over the world. The earth is the Lord's and everything, and people are trying to hide it and suppress it. But it's there in a variety of ways. Often we're made to feel like we're the odd ones out, but this is God's world. And God has a way of speaking from different angles to people when they least expect it. You can have confidence in the middle of crises. Whatever you're going through, wherever you are, this is God's world. There is no chaos. There is no chaos. There are no accidents. That's true even in the hardest of moments for the believer. True amidst illness and loss. We can have a confidence which undergirds our pain and grief. He has established this world in the waters. It's established. It's not bouncing to and fro. You can have confidence. The earth is the Lord's, and the presidents who reign in it. The earth is the Lord's, and the cancers that grow in it. The earth is the Lord's, and the attacks against truth that happen in it. And people say things like, this is a hard time to raise children. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it. The world and its dwellers belong to the Lord. It's God's time. And we can either live as if God is great and we belong to Him, or we can live as if God is small and problems, dear love Him, they overwhelm Him. What nonsense. Here's the importance of having a big view of God, not a small view, not a Sunday God, but a God who's big enough to actually trust with our cancer and with our shattered dreams and with the things that happen and come to us out of the blue. There's an old story of a soldier in battle, and he sees another man's cam. And he knows that sort of cam because he feels it in himself. And he knows it comes from having a big view of God. But he wonders where this young fella has got a big view of God, and he asked him a question. He said to him, strange question, he said to him, are you a shorter catechism boy? Yeah. Shorter catechism. And the man said yes. He had been taught it in his childhood. And it gave him such a great view of God, a rich view of God, a big view of God, that he had a cam in the midst of a battlefield. And this other soldier recognized it and knew it came from somewhere. So we should be the sort of people who dig into God's Word so that we have a big view of God, because the King, this verse is the King's pledge to us. The earth is the Lord's, and every event that will ever happen to you, everything that will ever happen, you can have confidence because you know the God who rules over everything. The artist's signature, the owner's stamp, the King's pledge, and fourthly, your checklist. Your checklist. Here's our checklist. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. We're not self-owned. You are the Lord's and everything in you. Everything in you. Many people want the confidence and peace that knowing God is in charge brings, but they don't actually want God to be in charge of them. They want God. They want God behind the wheel because He's a better driver, but they want Him in the passenger seat giving the directions. The earth is the Lord's, and I'm telling Him what to do in it. It's their motto. So let me ask you, Is He your Lord? Is He in charge of you? We either live as if God is great and we belong to Him, or we try to be great ourselves in a world that isn't ours. And here's a claim to challenge us. Here's our checklist as we look at our lives. Are our thoughts